please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Up about 1.25%, just under 1.25%. So that's 30 points in the S&P future. 2650 or so is where that stands. And I mean, if you look at most of Asia, it's all green. I mean, between 1/3% to about 1.5% gains across most Asian markets. So I mean, it's basically back home here where there seems to be some profit taking, which is kicking in. I mean, of course, globally things have been driving markets, but locally as well, there have been big issues, especially with regards to banks in both public and private. Ekta, morning.
Hi Prashant, morning. Well, surprisingly, it's the Nifty bank which continues to trade in the green, but we have the Nifty PSU bank index, which is actually in the red, so that slipped a little bit, down around 0.14%. But what seems to be doing well today in terms of stocks has to be, like I mentioned, a lot of the private banks. So Axis Bank, after all of the news that took place with regards to Shikha Sharma last evening, so maybe there is that hope of change, which is going to take place December onwards. So that stock is alive, up around 3.5%. ICICI Bank following suit, that stock up around close to 3%. And a lot of those metal stocks are doing well. Hindalco on the back of aluminium prices, so that stock is the top gain on the Nifty. We're going to be discussing that more in detail. Wipro down around 1%, and Bajaj Hindustan, which is step in step with a lot of the sugar companies which are buzzing around today. So a lot to talk about over the next 1 hour. Let's start off the show by talking about the technicals of the market. Sudarshan Sukhani is with us to discuss exactly that. Sudarshan, hi, morning. Well, we're inching closer towards the 100-day moving average. We're now at 10,400 for the Nifty, though we've given up from the day's high. So net, how would you approach the index? Okay, I think Sudarshan's voice is not reaching us, or we are not reaching Sudarshan, so we're just going to get that technical glitch sorted very quickly. I think we have some more F&O strategies lined up. Our second guest, Gaurav Bissa, is with us. Gaurav, over to you. So what would you be recommending to your clients today?
Good morning. As far as indices are concerned, I think they are near the crucial intraday support levels. I expect Nifty and Bank Nifty both to retest the day high today, and overall the momentum is quite strong. If you look at the option chain, we are now seeing good amount of writing in Bank Nifty at 25,000 put option. I'm talking the weekly series. As long as we are about 25,000, 25,050, the chances of 25,450 is relatively high. So I would be having a positive bias for Nifty as well as Bank Nifty. As far as individual recommendations are concerned, my first recommendation would be buy on Godrej Industries. It has been having a consolidation manner trading for last few trading sessions, and now it's come out of that consolidation. Some amount of long positions are seen getting built. Momentum is quite strong. One can have a stop loss of 556 on the upside. 575 can be expected in next 3 or 4 days. Second would be buy on Kenfin Futures. This is another name. Consistent long positions are seen getting built on the cusp of a breakout. It would be a preemptive trade. One can buy above 454, solos of 450, targets of 465, and Petronet is one that is trading in a range. 240 call option has a very high concentration. A lot of writing has been seen. We are seeing unwinding happening on those levels. It has been in the range. 230 is the level from where we see some amount of long positions getting built, and around levels of 240 we are seeing unwinding happening. So using stop loss of 240, one can sell Petronet for 232.
Okay, Gaurav, thanks very much. Those are trades on the F&O side. Sudarshan is with us. I think we had a bit of an issue. We fixed that. Sudarshan, morning. First, your view on the market. We're up 20 now. Yeah,
good morning. See, we have rallied from 99.50 all the way to 10,400 plus. Our targets, pattern targets, were 10,450. Now, targets are just numbers, not necessarily reliable, but they still give an indication. Now, we are very close to these targets today. So my suggestion was in the morning, and I'm continuing with that. Today, traders who have been long ever since these last 10-15 days should eventually take profits. The chances are markets will stall at these current levels. There is a strong resistance zone now coming in front of us, and we'll be choppy and consolidating, and that's no fun in trading. So the view is to exit your long positions today. If there is an intraday trader, then you can buy the Nifty now with a plan to exit before the close.
Okay. Stock-wise, what would you recommend?
Stock-wise, we still go with the long positions because all we are doing is to manage our trade and risk. It doesn't mean the trend has changed. Godrej Industries is a buying opportunity. The stock has already completed a deep correction, is now looking forward to higher levels. Hexaware is also a buy. Hexaware has been an outperformer. That outperformance should continue in the mid-cap IT space also. And thirdly, Muthoot Finance, which comes in my list after a long time. NBFCs are slowly waking up. So whether it's a relief rally or the genuine thing, we'll know later. But NBFCs are giving us signs of some kind of life. So for the day, Muthoot Finance is a buy. Muthoot should be taken only as an intraday trade.
Okay, we got some questions now, Twitter questions. Hari wants to put in 10,000 rupees in Jet Airways. He wants to know if this is the right time. I mean, right time and whether he should do it, actually. Sudarshan, what would you tell him?
Well, I would tell him this, he should not do it. You asked the right question. He should not do it at all. So it's not a question of timing. Jet Airways has been a disappointing chart. And there were some in-between rallies, but those rallies were primarily trading rallies for a few weeks rather than anything else. So if at all he wants to go into the airline business or invest in airlines, Indigo is the best choice. So do not invest in Jet, avoid it, and whenever Indigo has a small dip, consider going there.
All right. So we've been pointing out that it's turning out to be a big come off from the day's high for a couple of these indices. So the mid-cap index, for example, is now just about flattened out and is probably going to slip into the red very soon. We have an advanced decline ratio, which is quite weak today. So we have 950 stocks advancing on the National Stock Exchange for around 1,046 stocks declining, absolutely opposite to at least what we've seen in yesterday's trade, where the advanced decline was firm and positive in the advances favor. But I think we can now get to Nigel. Nigel's joining in to talk about aluminium stocks as they unfocus, as the US in fact has levied the harshest sanctions against Russia, leading to what has been a sharp rise in aluminium prices. Nigel, break it down for us. How much has it risen and what's the impact on specific stocks?
Well, aluminium prices are up by nearly around 7 to around 7.5% in the last couple of trading sessions, and Hindalco is the stock you should focus on. That stock's given you returns of nearly around 7 to around 8% just in the last few days. Why is that? As you said, yes, the United States of America, they have imposed sanctions on Russia, and in turn that impacts one of those big aluminium producers in Russia. That's Russell. Now, why is Russell so important? Because it accounts for nearly around what? Around 3 and 3.5 million tons approximately. That means it accounts for nearly around 6% of global output. And more importantly, if you take it ex-China, then it accounts for nearly around 13% of the total global aluminium output. Edelweiss, they're saying that it's complicating the situation a little more because Glencoe holds nearly around 8.5% stake in Russell. So what's going to happen there? That's what could dampen the supply-demand ratio in terms of aluminium. Going ahead now, Edelweiss says they're expecting prices to remain strong. Why is that? Because alumina, that's input costs have gone up, the supply disruption is likely to take place, and in turn, they believe that Hindalco could be a good play. Because Hindalco, remember, they're integrated for their domestic operations. Novelis in the near term could have some kind of an impact because they're buying the ignites from the open market. So in terms of margin pressure in the near term, yes, there could be some. But Edelweiss says that they have a target price of around 325 rupees on Hindalco, while in terms of Vedanta, they have a buy rating with a target price of around 425 rupees per share. More importantly, Credit Suisse, they have come out with a note. They're saying on an EV upon EBITDA basis, well, the stock is trading at near 5-year lows in terms of EV upon EBITDA. So that's why they as well are quite positive on the stock. That explains why Hindalco, one of the biggest gainers in today's trading session.
Nigel, very briefly, in your reading, does it seem like this spike in underlying aluminum prices will stay, or this will be given back soon?
Prashant, that's an important question that you're asking me. First, we focus on aluminium. That's the jury's out. What happens between US as well as Russia, that's going to be important. But I'll tell you what, just around half hour odd, on our channel itself, we had Nalco, and their biggest play is alumina. Now, they have said that alumina prices have moved from around $355 per ton in February. In March, that's March 22nd, 2018, it moved to around $390 per ton. And their last reading, that's the last shipment that left yesterday, was at $470 per ton. If the input cost is going to go up so much, then obviously, the output cost as well, that's aluminium, that as well could get some kind of a base because the input cost is going up. And in terms of a deficit, what the NALCO management indicated was there is a bit of a deficit even in the aluminium market as well as the alumina market. That's what could keep this quite buoyant. Just a few days ago, LME aluminium prices had moved to around $1,950 per ton. The last reading that I have is around $2,145 per ton. So short point, the input costs, that could give some kind of base for aluminium prices as well.
Okay. All right, Nigel. Thanks very much for that. Hindalco top gain on the Nifty today, up around 3.5%. Kunal Shah of Nirmal Bang Commodities joins in to discuss some commodity strategies with us then. Kunal, hi, over to you. First, if you do have any views on aluminium and all of the rest of the commodities that you'd be recommending today.
Yeah, the view on aluminum is bullish, like just Nigel pointed out. It's the input cost like alumina, bauxite, the prices of all these raw material have moved up exponentially. This new sanctions, I think it is definitely going to be bullish for aluminum. So already announced production cut in aluminum. Till now, 2018, no new production cuts have been announced. So if China announces a further production cut like they did in steel, I think at that time the aluminum prices will shoot up abruptly. So overall view is bullish, but not aggressively bullish from these levels. For commodity like aluminum to move up by 7.5% in a matter of 2 days, it's a big thing. So I would not recommend to go and rush and buy at these levels. Wait for a correction, profit taking, and then you can again re-enter around 138. For the upside target of 144 to 145. As far as other metals are concerned, we are recommending to go long in zinc. The zinc prices have corrected by more than 10%. I think this is a good time to re-enter in long position. The US-China trade war is de-escalating, and I think that is bullish for commodity like zinc. So 210 good levels to go long for the upside target of 214 to 215 on MCX.
Okay, you have two other strategies.
Yes, we recommend to go long in silver. The long-awaited bull run is likely to start in silver. A huge short position. I think any upside from here, and we are going to see a short covering in this commodity, and fundamentals definitely point towards a scenario where silver prices should rally. So 38,350 good levels to go long for the upside target of 38,850. And we recommend to go short in crude oil. Whatever upside we've seen in last 2 days is likely to be short-lived. 4150, 4160, good level to go short for the downside target of 4070.
Okay, all right, Kunal, we're going to leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and taking us through all of those strategies. Just a quick glance at the Nifty Bank constituents, and you'll see that Axis Bank is the top gainer of the Nifty Bank as we speak. So up around 3.6%, and following that is ICICI Bank. In fact, it's all about private banks at this point. Kotak, RBL, Yes Bank, all of them which are in the green as compared to the other PSU banks. HDFC Bank, however, in the red. Take a break. But up next, we'll be focusing on the banking sector as Shikha Sharma seeks a shorter term as the head of Axis Bank. Details on this big story. And what's next? Well, 10,400 back for the Nifty, and we do have a couple of stocks which we've been talking about from the entire banking space. But moving beyond banking, we have a couple of other stocks which seem to be showing a lot of momentum today. So something like an Adani Ports, which is up around 3% Infosys is clawing back after yesterday's downtick. So Infosys is up around 0.7%, and maybe something like a TCS is also seeing some amount of buying at lower levels. So up around 0.5% currently for TCS. But let's focus on the banking space then. On to a CNBC TV18 exclusive. We learned from sources that no meeting has been held between the government and LIC on the ICICI Bank matter. Sapna Das joins in with all the exclusive details on this. Sapna, hi, go ahead.
Hi. So basically, a bit of a clarification coming from, government quarters that as you rightly pointed out, no dialogue or meeting has been held between LIC and the Department of Financial Services here in Delhi on the ICICI Bank matter. But probably what is of more significance is the fact also that the indication is very clear that this entire issue is, totally between the investigative agencies, the Reserve Bank of India, which has the right on the management call, and the bank board. So there is nothing much that the government is doing at its end. That's the impression that we have been given, or rather the clarity that has been given. Also, if we keep in mind, what RBI had said on 14th March, that, regarding the private sector banks, in terms of management call, they have far more greater powers vis-a-vis the public sector bank. So basically the indication is towards the fact that whatever needs to be done, if at all, it will be done by Reserve Bank of India as the regulator and the supervisor of the banking space and not from the government quarters.
All right, Sapna, thanks very much for that. So that's essentially the government point of view which is coming through in that phone with Sapna Das. We'll just take a very quick look at the market once again, and we'll sort of move on with other stuff. But Lemon Tree, I mean, if you can put the stock up, it had a big move yesterday, the listing day. It's down about 5, it's giving back some 5% lower, but it would still be, a spectacular listing, even with this 5% give back. Jayaprakash Associates is coming off a little bit. It's down 3% or so. It started absolutely flat. Look at Escorts, which is down about 2%. MGL, this is Mahanagar Gas, which is down about 2 3/4%. And you've got Jet Airways, IGL, Aurobindo. These are stocks which are coming off, but nothing large, 1.5% across some of these names. And of course, we've been listing the gainers. It's the Adani name, Adani Ports, the 2 banks, private sector banks, and the metal stocks which top the list. T.S. Ananthakrishnan is CEO at Verenium Capital Advisors. He's joining us right now. Anand, thanks very much. Good morning. What do you make of this Axis Bank news flow yesterday?
I mean, it was kind of expected because you could, once the RBI as a regulator goes and questions a specific appointment, despite the fact that whatever the board may state, at the end of the day, the regulator has to approve it. And it was clear that the regulator was not in favor of extending the term. So, it just led to a logical conclusion. Yesterday was just a formality in my view.
Mm-hmm. Oh. What does it mean for the stock?
I think the uncertainty regarding at least the piece regarding the appointment is out of the way. The stock will probably react for a day, and then it's business as usual. So it'll all depend upon how the earnings proceed as far as the company is concerned. So I don't think it will effectively have any impact other than probably a day or two. Obviously, Axis has taken a lot of hits in terms of their own NPS. I mean, if you look at the amount of stressed asset, I mean, the way we look at it is you have a 60,000 crores of book value. You assume that 20,000 crores is the stressed assets. You take out the 20,000 crores of the stressed asset, you still have a net book value of 40,000 crores. A company which is trading at about 1,10,000 crores. And I mean, you get a clean book of 40,000 crores with a company which is trading at 1,10,000 crores. I think that's a good buy to have with the addition of write-backs whenever the write-backs happen. So from our perspective, I mean, we are in the last cycle of this NPA, and so Axis, in fact, even ICICI for that matter, seems like good buys. Okay,
all right. ICICI also seems like a good buy, but what about NBFCs in this market?
So if you look at many of the NBFCs, they've been giving superb numbers. They've been growing around 22–23%. The likes of Bajaj Finance have been doing extremely well. We expect them to do.
Do you prefer them to private banks? How are they stacked up in comparison?
No, both of them are quite expensive relative. NBFC is more so. So if you look at, but they are also showing at the same time, that's where the growth is. So effectively, you look at the retail-focused NBFCs like Bajaj Finance. To that extent, somebody like a Mahindra Finance, which is on the rural side, that's available cheap compared to a Bajaj Finance. But Bajaj Finance is essentially producing those numbers. Mahindra Finance, in our view, is a great buy at this stage, assuming the rural pickup should happen given election expenses and everything else which will go on in the next 1 year. So on a relative basis, I think if you look at the consistency of performance, it will be Bajaj Finance. From an opportunity perspective, it will be something like a Mahindra Finance. So you take your pick, but both of them would grow.
It's something similar to, I mean, just to come back to ICICI Bank, I mean, buying an ICICI or maybe an HDFC Bank, the same kind of, I mean, M&M Finance and
Similar. It's see, even a stock may be beaten down enough that it becomes a valuation buy. And while it may not be showing enough earnings growth as compared to an HDFC bank, say, but at the end of the day, you know, at a particular price, everything looks attractive.
Okay. A lot of these aluminium stocks are doing well. You know, Hindalco, which is up even 7% this week, for example. How are you approaching the metal space? They've anyway had a good run last year. It's down and out a little bit this year.
Correct.
Good time to buy at these levels?
So they have had, you know, last 3-4 quarters, they have done extremely well. Metal prices have zoomed up quite a bit. Whether there is enough room for it to further zoom up, we don't believe so. So I think the prices are going to be stable. It's going to be, the margins are what they are at this stage. I mean, we see across the metal space a 30% earnings growth for, say, for this particular quarter, which, however, would be probably the lowest in the last 3 to 4 quarters, given, you know, the base effect. So we think metals would play out basis whatever however the US, China and the macro global macro situation pans out. Aluminum prices have obviously gone up because of the whole Rusal situation. But you know, if we assume that this is just the whole macro situation is just a play by Trump to renegotiate trade treaties, and if it goes according to plan, then you have a synchronized growth in the market, which would bode well for all these global cyclicals.
Still keeping the faith in Aurobindo?
Yes.
Any triggers down the line? I mean, results are going to be good, bad, ugly, or does it not matter? I mean, quarterly numbers.
For
Aurobindo.
For Aurobindo. No, the numbers have been fairly good despite concerns in terms of the generic pricing in the US. The company has delivered on the numbers, we believe. The margins are stable at 22-23%. They are going at a clip of north of 20%. So, you know, we continue to like this. And as I said, this is part of my portfolio as a disclosure. We have it in our both our domestic as well as our offshore portfolios.
Anything new, Anand, that you bought recently?
Nothing specifically. We just retained our same portfolio. As I mentioned last time around, that we have a two-pronged approach as far as the portfolio construction is concerned. A set of stocks where we have consistency of earnings as well as visibility of earnings. And these have predominantly been in the auto ancillaries, private banks, private NBFCs, some of the consumer names. The second phase, what we call are at the cusp of a turnaround. So things like L&T we like, many of the EPC players we like. So that's the approach we are taking as far as portfolio construction is concerned. So nothing new which we would like to discuss at this time.
Okay, all right, Anand, we're going to leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and taking us through all of those fundamental views on stocks. But